I have to hold you to the fire, Matt. You're simultaneously saying that you feel pretty confident that the way that you've directed your life and your faith and your belief is I'm going to use the word. No, I'm not going to use that word. Is more complete.
Yeah.
So we're going to stick with the list of things you're trusting. I think one of the things that you would argue for is that the method that the religion and the faith that you've landed on is more complete. So to ask that question in a little bit more pokey way, pokey as in like hard or challenging, I do wonder if you could explain when you say this is where you've landed, and when you talk about Chester, the ripping the cloth into tiny shreds, I'm assuming that you're saying that you're reassembling those shreds, you're putting them back together, and in your mind, and probably in Chesterton's mind, more pieces of that fabric are within that last category of Christian theism. So I guess I'm stumbling around because I don't want to ask the question directly. I'm trying to be too nice.
Just ask it.
Are you saying that Christian theism is more true and the others are less true? Are you saying that Christian theism is more accurate and the others are less accurate? Are you saying you have more of the truth and therefore that's what validates it? Or what do you mean when you say this one is it more and the other ones are wrong? What is it? See, I don't even know how to ask the question.
Yeah, and that's the paradox of this. I'm going to use that word, not a throwaway word and not a cop-out. That's the paradox of it, right? Can't verify anything with 100% certitude. I believe there's objective truth. There's objective standards that I'm going to go Bible. I'm going to go Christian theism. I'm going to go Jesus, Trinity, Father, God, all of it. And the biblical narrative is the true narrative. I'm going to do all of that. And then, look at then that juxtaposition, but it's all faith. And so I'm trusting it. I can't really prove it. I can't really know, but I'm saying that this is the one.
Yeah.
Confidently, right? I'm saying I'm trusting it. And so what I would do is I'll undercut that right from the start and saying, I'm on the journey, Jack. You got a better one? Sweet, let's talk about it, because then I'll convert to that. Right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the students that are in my class are like, oh, no. I'm like, actually, yeah. Like, no, this is the real deal. I want what I think is, not what I think is true. I want the truth. And all I can go off is what I'm thinking and processing and connecting with reality. I'm going to do the best I can to figure that out because I really want it, because of what we've talked about before. Full life, right? Meaning, a completeness, a wholeness. So I don't want to just pick the thing that I think is true because it sounds good. And then, I feel better about myself, right? I want to trust the story, because we're all trusting stories, right? I want to trust the story that's helping me make sense of all of it most completely. And with my reading, with my conversations, with my journey, as finite, right, as that is, that's what I'm landing on, is that this Christian story is the best one, that Jesus's way to do this is the best way to do it. And that when I look at Jesus and what he's representing and what he's teaching and who Jesus is, it's like, oh, wait, it puts them all back together in such a compelling, profound way. And at the core is love. At the core is grace. At the core is hope and freedom and meaning and relationship. Like, great. Okay, that's what I've got. And yeah, I grew up with it, and here I am. And I'm not Chesterton, who read 10,000 books to try and figure this out and had a photographic memory or whatever and can remember it all, and then he picks it. Like, I'm doing the best I can to figure it out, as you are, and this is what I've landed on, and I will gladly listen. That's what I've been doing. Well, give me something that's better, because I'll pick that. And it's just not happening. And yes, you could say that I'm biased, but then I'm not sincere, and I'm also not that good of a philosopher on some level. I try to set that aside and really engage. But what I what kept happening is I'll talk to the atheist and we'll dig down. I'll be like, but wait, how is no meaning, no free will, morality is absurd, I'm not actually myself existing, I'm just chemicals unfolding in a larger material world. How is that? That doesn't, it doesn't, there's not a completeness there. And so they'll come up with answers for the fact that the paradox is that I think I have free will, but I actually don't. Or I can conjure up meaning, but it's not real. Like they'll come up with their own paradoxes, just like Christianity has paradoxes. But like Chesterton says, and Lewis says, and it's just it's not satisfying. I don't get life from it. And we could say that would be an emotional connection on some level, but very practically, emotions aside, if I have to pick, this is why I have these 4 worldviews and why I put this out there. We start looking at the consequences of these 4 trust lists, and the consequences, there's some really great things in all of them. But then it's like this stuff that's just like, oh, the wind out of the sail. Oh, that just deflated. I can't make that work. And like in monism, if I have to trust that everything is God and part of God, to answer the big worldview question on evil and morality, we lose the definition of good or evil, but anything that I see, cancer, abuse, trauma, all that terror, it's part of God. If that's true, I guess I need to settle into it, right? Like, and people do. They try to wrap their brains around that as best they can. I can't, with any integrity, can't do it. To not say that there's not evil, right? When I've seen some pretty brutal stuff, right? And what I've seen is nothing compared to what some people experience and see, right?
Right.
I'm kind of piecing that together, but like, yeah, I'm trusting it as the full, most complete, best we can get option. And then that means I have to say that I see others having incompleteness to it. The metaphor that you helped me with that I love, right? We have the silly strips. Thank you, Chesterton. I use a painting. You're a painter. If you chopped your painting up, you still have a piece of the original. Yeah, but it's a piece of it. Isn't your painting more complete and better when you get all the pieces connected to it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then we landed on that. Well, then somebody might be just satisfied with, well, I got a piece of Jack's painting. I'm fine, right? Well, what I like better is using light. And so we landed on a chandelier metaphor, right? Well, that's all later.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that Christianity takes all the lights and all the truth and all these worldviews and can turn them all on. So it's way brighter and way better. We can see more. And then Jesus himself says, I'm the light of the world. So it's a convenient metaphor. But you start realizing, well, actually, yeah, material, it's there. Spiritual, it's there. Unity, it's there. Distinction, it's there. Wholeness is there. Love is there. And like, wait, there's so much there. Show me something else out there that has more than that, and I'll go for it.
Yeah. That's good. That's a good answer, Matt.
But I want to say that without the I'm right, you're wrong. I want to do the best I can, but inevitably we're gonna start dividing, right? We're gonna start dividing. And so rather than me saying I'm right, I'm wrong, I say I'm trusting this. I just gave you 5 minutes of why, or whatever that was, 8 minutes of why. I rambled.
Yeah.
But then you're free to say, well, I don't trust that. Here's what I trust. And this is why I think it's better and more trustworthy. And I say, okay, let's watch this pan out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then either Christianity is going to bottom out on me and I'm going to run to their worldview and like, well, what are you trusting? It's got to be better than this because God just allowed this to happen and screw him, like I don't want him anymore. I want something better. Well, how many stories of that do we have? Right? But if you can offer me something better, and it really is better and more trustworthy and more sustainably trustworthy, I'm all ears at that point, right?
Yeah, that's good. That's a good answer. So to recap there, you're saying you're sticking with the metaphor. So Chesterton talks about the tatters, but I think, doesn't Lewis also talk about New York? He talks about New York City. It's like, look, New York's a real thing, but those who have been there have a more accurate representation. So you're basically saying more, that when you consider philosophy, when you consider all the religions, when you consider the two potential ways to look at the world, the spiritual and material, this one offers a more satisfactory answer for you, given your experience in life. And I think that's a great way to be. I think, we could argue for infinity about, that's the point, is like, are you looking to argue for infinity? No, you're looking to go forward in the world.
Yeah.
And so I think this is great. I appreciate that.
And the one, if we go with the biblical narrative, and if we go with Jesus incarnate, right, God incarnate, then that person has the worldview, right? He's got it, right? But then the implication is that since none of us are Jesus, God in the flesh, we're we're not going to get that. So we are all on some level, iconoclastic. Like we're never going to be able to have his worldview. But then you can see why that those eyewitnesses and those biblical accounts, that's priceless, because they were right there.
Yeah.
Right. But then if that's the only way that we get that worldview, then it's all about just that. And that's why you have King David writing about the fact that creation is pouring forth speech every day, all over the place. It's available there and here.
Yeah.
I think that's the New York thing that Lewis is talking about, is like, if you've been there, you know New York better. If you've heard about it, you can still believe it and learn about it. You can Google it. You can look at a map, watch a video, right?
Yeah.
But even if you and I go there, are we going to get New York?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's again, metaphors all fall apart at some point.
They're all
His point being, New York's a thing. It can be known better, or because it also could be like, a person could grow up in New York but only have an experience of the Bronx and a lower socioeconomical standpoint, and never really know New York as the amazing place that wealthy people enjoy. Like, just because you're there doesn't, the point being is that there is more or less knowledge about a place.
Yeah.
And it certainly is related on the story that we believe about New York.
And none of us are going to have a full comprehension of New York. So we need to back off, right? That's where humility steps in. Humility steps in. The guy with the 6 PhDs in theology and doctrine still ain't going to get it. You're not going to get God. Or Jesus. Or so I think there's a level of trust and humility that works into that for our conversation time, right?
Yeah. I mean, I lived in Boston for long enough to really dislike New York. So even this metaphor doesn't work for me any longer.
There you go. We should drop it.
No, it's good. It's good. Now, this is good, Matt. I appreciate it. These are good questions. Again, like, the point for me would be to say, can you articulate what it is that you're trusting in? And then the next question would be, this is back to, the philosophical question of ethics. Like, that's one, it's great to say you believe something. Two, it's great to be able to explain and understand why it is that you believe that. But then thirdly, that's all fine and good. Are you living consistently with that? And that's where, that's where I get challenged the most. So that's the third step of like, can you live that out consistently? And that is where pure materialism falls apart for me. As I said, I definitely have my tendency is towards materialism, but that's where it gets really, really challenging, is like, I don't know how to live that out.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
don't often live that out.
It's hard to live out. There's very few who have, in regards to those who've written about it or testified about trying to live it out, and it's not very sustainable.
Yeah.
And I would say, but that's why you said pure materials. That's why I did do those adjectives and focused it down. Because when we start isolating it, we start realizing, wait a second, I'm missing something, and that over there has something.
Yeah.
And that was part of kind of setting this up on the trust, and then the 4 worldviews, is by isolating it, we're realizing it really is just a strip.
Yeah.
Well, then that begs the question of wanting more and inviting that conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all about pulling it back a little bit, man. I love it. I mean, I think that's the thing too, is as I lean, so part of my, part of the, like, you get really practical and talk about, like, there's the, all the way down to how our society operates with the justice system, right? Like, we have a very punitive justice system, and that is because we believe in a punitive God. And so it might be a spot where materialism, pure materialism, might have something to offer. And we might go, hey, look, there's something to be learned about the chemicals in our body, yeah, and how they cause us to react, that might cause us to rethink such a punitive justice system. It might need to be restorative instead of punitive, like, and then when you say that word, you're like, well, that sounds like that might fit with the biblical narrative. So anyways, it's if we don't ever have the interplay between the options, then we're going to get myopic. We're going to get down one road. We're not going to change. So that's, again, the beauty of this is it opens up the possibility for humble, open communication. So,
and working together. Let's work together. Let's all do this together.
All right, dude. This is good. I appreciate it. So next time we'll go into, so this one was, oh wait, I picked up the wrong book. I picked up the author not to be named. It's like what's his name, Sauron or whatever.
Baltimore or whatever.
Oh yeah, so chapter 1 is trust, chapter 2 is Faith Island. So that's where we'll go next time. But
yeah. All
right, buddy. Love you.
Love you too, man.
Good talking with you.
Great talking with you too. Blessings.
Yep.
Peace.
Bye.